My fiancé hooked up with my green tea best friend and threw me out to feed the zombies. After being reborn, I rented the house directly opposite in advance to stock up on supplies, spending all the betrothal gifts he gave me and the decoration fee for the wedding house that he asked me to save. The zombie outbreak has occurred again. I can finally lie flat on the balcony and watch this pair of dog lovers fall in love in the apocalypse. When I opened my eyes in bed, I thought I had a terrible nightmare. In my dream, my limbs were gnawed by zombies until only blood, mud, and bones remained. My intestines were dragged out of my abdomen, and the air was thick with the smell of blood and decay. I rot in the hallway like decaying flesh, slowly losing my last breath in endless pain, so that now, suddenly waking up, my whole body is still filled with nerve pain, and the limbs that were already lost in the dream cannot move. Dear, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? My fiancé, who was lying next to me playing on his phone, saw that I was motionless and trembling all over, and reached out to hold me. Seeing Li Zhao's face, a strong wave of nausea surged in my heart, and my hands finally moved. My first reaction was to push him away. He was suddenly provoked by my crazy behavior, showing obvious annoyance, but quickly regained his composure and put on a smile. Dear, I have something to do today and need to go out. Is there anything you want to eat? I'll bring it back for you in the evening. Hearing this sentence, I hurriedly looked at my phone. June 24, 2064, 9:44 a.m. The same time, the same sentence. It turns out that all of this is not a dream. I was reborn after my death, reborn on the day before the zombie outbreak. Li Zhao saw me staring at my phone and shook me. The people from the renovation company will come to sign the contract at around 10 o'clock. Remember to pay the money. Li Zhao bought a house in full before marriage, which is the one I am now moving in to live with him. When we discussed getting married, he asked me to use the 500,000 yuan I had saved from working over the years to renovate this house. You have no parents, so from now on I will be your closest relative. Isn't this money all common property? After getting married, the property certificate will have your name on it. This is also your house, whether you pay early or late, it's the same. If the house is renovated early, you can move in early, don't you think? Under his constant brainwashing, I am somewhat shaken. Later, in order to show his sincerity of already treating me as family, he took the initiative to transfer 100,000 yuan as a betrothal gift to me. It was this move that successfully dispelled my last concern, and I signed the contract with the renovation company he found without any investigation, paying a deposit of 600,000 as a result. This company is a shell company set up by his brother, and the 600,000 passed through his brother Yang Jie's hands, leaving a few thousand as hard work fees, while the rest went straight into Li Zhao's pocket. Li Zhao not only used a pig-killing plate to scam all my savings, but also hooked up with my green tea best friend Qing Shuangshuang. After the zombie outbreak, Qing Shuangshuang was trapped in my house. I noticed that they were having an affair and secretly investigated Li Zhao's phone. I didn't expect that what was waiting for me was so much chilling. Scoop: in my previous life, my true heart was treated as garbage and trampled by these two bitches, and before I could settle the score, they threw me out the door to feed the zombies in order to hoard resources, die a tragic death in the most desperate way. If I don't take revenge in this life, I won't be able to forgive myself. Li Zhao saw my face was stiff and thought I was still in a bad mood for getting up, so he reminded me again. Coming back to my senses, I suppressed my anger and casually responded with a few words. He didn't notice anything unusual and tidied up before going out. I watched his car drive out of the community from the balcony, stuffed some important items and clothes I left at Li Zhao's house into the suitcase, casually shoved the drone he bought inside as well. Then went out the door and headed straight to the security booth at the community gate. There is a bulletin board set up by the property management, usually used for posting lost and found notices or rental information. I used to glance at it when I ran past. Among the many rental listings, I quickly found the one I remembered and dialed the number on it. Hello, is this Miss Zhang? I would like to rent your house. Do you have time to come and sign the contract now? The house for rent posted by Miss Zhang, the owner, is directly opposite Li Xiao's home, because the two buildings are not too far apart. I noticed it from my balcony when the tenants across moved out last weekend. Miss Zhang seems to live in this community as well. After hanging up the phone with me, she quickly came over, seeing me dragging a suitcase to look at the house. They even took the initiative to ask about my situation. I honestly say it was because my fiancé cheated and it fell apart. With no parents to rely on, I could only move out and live alone. Out of empathy between women, she offered to rent it to me for 500 yuan cheaper, and told me, "I'm older than you, so you can call me Sister Yao from now on." I had to buy a bigger place because my elderly family members came over, and I bought a big one across the street, in Building C, room 1701. It's very close. It's fate that we got to know each other, so if you need anything in the future, just come find me. And you can also come to my house for meals anytime. Sister Yao carries the sincerity and warmth of a northern woman. I am very satisfied with her and the house. We quickly signed the contract and added each other on WeChat, just as she was handing me the keys and getting ready to leave. I thought for a moment and held her back. "Yao Jia, if you trust me, reinforce the defenses at home today and stock up on more food, water, and daily necessities, as there may be great turmoil tomorrow." Sister Yao was taken aback for a moment and asked me what great upheaval meant. How did I know? I can only say that I found out through some connections, but it's not very convenient to disclose the specifics. Maybe she has some natural trust in me, said okay, and reminded me to take care of myself before leaving in a hurry. I quickly arranged for a technician to come over and replaced the front door with a thicker, reinforced security door. At that moment, a strange phone call came in. And I guessed it was the renovation company that Li Xiao had contacted, so I pressed to answer. "Hello, is this Miss Xu? I am Xiao Yang from the renovation company, here to have you sign the contract. I've been ringing your doorbell for a long time with no response. Could you please open the door? I'm really sorry," I replied in a tone of apology. "I have to step out for a bit due to an unexpected matter. How about you come back in an hour?" Okay, answered eagerly on the phone. After the master changed the door, I also slipped him some money to secretly help me change the lock on the door in the public passage. This building has 2 units per floor, so if the door lock of the public corridor is locked, I effectively have 2 doors, double protection. As soon as the master who changed the door left, the master I had scheduled to change the security screen and windows arrived. He is still quite a simple-minded master, shook the already installed invisible security net on the balcony, and said to me, "I think what you have installed now is pretty good. Most people install these invisible ones, but you want the fully enclosed type, which affects the aesthetics, doesn't allow for ventilation, and is not good for drying clothes." Meeting such a down-to-earth person, I can only come up with a temporary excuse. This neighborhood has been robbed before, and that family also installed this kind of invisible security, which can't stop thieves at all. Now I feel like I hear someone cutting the security net every night when I sleep, and I'm a bit neurotic, so I might as well enclose the balcony for peace of mind. When the master heard me say this, he understood my other request to replace all the glass with bulletproof glass and apply a one-way film. And he no longer asked further questions. I measured the dimensions and said I would go back to the store to prepare the materials, and I can come over in the afternoon to help me install. After sending off the 2 masters, I rushed to the supermarket, ready for a big shopping spree. Just arrived at the entrance of Sam's supermarket, and received a call from that Yang Jia. "Miss Xu, have you arrived home?" "Oh no, I haven't finished my tasks yet. Why don't you wait for me for another hour?" The person on the phone sounded obviously displeased, replied a couple of times, and then hung up, holding a card worth 600,000. I entered the warehouse-style supermarket. The pent-up frustration that had been stuck in my chest since I woke up in the morning suddenly found an outlet. I found a staff member and explained that I was sent by the company's procurement department to purchase employee benefits, asking him to help pull a cart to pick up the goods I selected. I don't know how long the prolonged battle will last, so to ensure I don't starve, most of my choices are food that can be stored for a long time. Instant noodles/rice noodles/rice vermicelli, self-heating hot pot/rice, canned meat, canned fruit, canned vegetables, jerky, compressed biscuits, small bread, rice, flour, various sauces, peanut oil. Considering the electricity issue, I have already scheduled a technician to come to my house this afternoon to install 3 solar power storage panels. It should be enough to supply power for the 2 newly purchased freezers, so I added some more refrigerated food, frozen dumplings, steak, fish fillet, chicken. The original refrigerator in the house was intended to store some fresh vegetables and fruits, Chinese cabbage, onion, orange, apple, corn, potato. When I passed by the snack area, I picked up some snacks I love to eat, especially the sweet ones, potato chips, various flavors of chocolate, all kinds of candy, instant milk tea, instant coffee. The basic food has been bought, but since I just rented a new house, I have almost no daily necessities, so I have to buy everything: bedding, quilts, electric blankets, slippers. There are also consumable items like toothpaste, toothbrushes, shower gel, shampoo, laundry detergent, tissues, and sanitary pads. I checked the list of items I had prepared in advance, and these are about all the survival supplies. Suddenly remembered, I forgot to buy a high-powered telescope. This thing is the key point. After gathering all the items, the staff took me through the bulk purchase checkout and paid for the home delivery fee, which was delivered directly to my home. After coming out of the supermarket and packing common medicines at the pharmacy, that young Jia called me for the 3rd time. After I picked it up, I immediately pretended to be very anxious. "Is this Mr. Yang? I was just about to call you back. I just found out that my bank card has been stolen. And it has been frozen because I entered the wrong password. I'm currently waiting in line at the bank for them to handle it. How about you come back tomorrow morning? I'm really sorry for making you run around today. I'll pay you an extra 5,000 yuan for your hard work tomorrow, okay?" When I was saying the first half of the sentence, young Jia on the phone remained silent, feeling like he was about to explode with anger. But after I finished the second half, he immediately switched to a warm tone. "Not hard, not hard. It's what I should do. Then I'll come again at the same time tomorrow morning. You should hurry up and take care of the bank card issue." After hanging up the phone, I secretly laughed to myself. Who can't act in a play? Is it just you, young Jia, and Li Xiao who can? The supplies are almost all bought, but I still feel very uncertain. In my previous life, I was unarmed and was controlled by that pair of dog men and women. In this life, if they discover me and the room full of supplies on the other side, they will definitely have even more malicious intentions. After thinking it over, I decided to prepare some hardcore defense tools. On one hand, it can defend against zombie attacks, and on the other hand, it can avoid being counter-killed by the scoundrels. I took a taxi to the renovation market, entered the hardware store, and bought high-voltage electric shock stick, rechargeable ultra-long telescopic branch saw, iron wire. With these 2 things, if those dog men dare to approach me, I will dare to electrocute them and chop off their heads. After buying, I checked the time and it was almost time for the installer to arrive. After paying the delivery fee to the boss, I started taking a taxi back. On the way, I called several water delivery stations near my home, totaling more than 200 barrels of water, and paid extra to have them all delivered to my house. It was only when I got to the door that I realized the master and the workers were crowded in the entire hallway, all waiting for the materials for me. I quickly apologized and opened the door to let them in to install. When the workers finished installing and left, I organized the materials that were sent over again. The 2 large rooms were already full, and the excess could only be placed in the living room. After finishing all this, it was already dark. There are more than 20 missed calls on the phone. A dozen or so were hit by Li Xiao, and a few were from my green tea friend Qing Shuangshuang. I locked the door, started taking the elevator down, and called Qing Shuangshuang back while walking. "Hey, Shuangshuang, I was busy just now and didn't hear the phone." "What's up?" The voice of Qing Shuangshuang on the phone was soft and delicate, with a hint of crying. "Woo woo woo, Ying, I had a fight with my boyfriend, and I feel so blocked and upset right now. The first person I thought of was you. Men really aren't as good as sisters. Woo woo woo. I have to say, Qing Shuang really knows how to show weakness and provide emotional value for someone like me who has lacked parents and siblings since childhood. What I truly long for deep down is a close relationship at all times, so in the last life, as long as Qing Shuang cried in front of me, I couldn't help but go through fire and water for her, giving her whatever she wanted. Low-level green tea can only fool men, while high-level green tea is simply a psychologist, effective on both men and women. After listening to her, I also seemed very anxious. Then why don't you come sleep at my house tonight? Don't stay with that stinky man. Qing Shuang was still crying on the phone, but it's really late now. It's very dark outside. I'm scared to take a taxi alone. I immediately said, I'm taking a taxi to pick you up right now. If she really doesn't dare to come, then wouldn't my script be missing a female lead? Answer, it must be answered. I just opened the front door, and Li Xiao immediately stood up from the sofa in the living room, visibly low pressure, but seeing Qing Shuang behind me, the pressure balanced out again, and I even spoke with a hint of indulgence. Oh, I was wondering why I couldn't reach you by phone. Turns out you were with her. Yo, Li Xiao, you aren't saying that to me, are you? Is it that Qing Shuang made you confront me, and you haven't received the money and are unwilling to confront me? Then she doesn't reply on WeChat and doesn't answer the phone, and you got anxious and angry, starting to blow up my phone, preparing to vent your anger on me. Do you think I can guess it accurately? But Qing Shuang, this green tea, slaps you and then plans to give you a candy, still wants me to go pick her up. Are you happy, scumbag? I caught a glimpse of Qing Shuang pouting at him from the diagonal back, and Li Xiao immediately awkwardly shifted his gaze to another place. Too obvious. What kind of lard blinded my mind in my last life that I couldn't see these details at all? Li Xiao pretended to be nonchalant and asked me casually, has your bank card theft been resolved? I pretended to have a bad headache. No, when it was my turn the person in charge had already left work, but the teller promised to reserve the first number for me tomorrow morning, so I will go queue up early. Li Xiao heard this and had nothing more to say, so he turned around and lay on the sofa playing with his phone. I turned to Qing Shuang and said, it's late, you should go take a shower first. The guest room has always been reserved for you. And we even changed the sheets and duvet cover a few days ago. Qing Shuang happily pounced over and kept kissing me on the face. I love you the most, Ying. You are my closest sister in this life. In my heart, you will always be number one, and my mom can only be number two. Although I was rolling my eyes internally, I still put on a usual facade of enjoyment, hugging her and smiling sweetly. My favorite is also you. Shuang, you are first, Li Xiao is second, you die first. Li Xiao dies second. Are you satisfied with this arrangement? Li Xiao glanced at us and joked, your sister talks so cheesy, I'm about to throw up. Wife, really, you don't love this slutty girl calling you sweetly on WeChat? Honey, I can't sleep. Honey, I really want to hug you. Honey, can you kiss me more next time? Qing Shuang heard Li Xiao call her wife and immediately let go of his hand, heading straight to the shower room. This bitch still has the face to be jealous in front of me. Hang in there a little longer, Shuaing, hang in there a little longer. How happy these two dogs are laughing now. How ugly they will cry later. At 4 a.m., it is the time when people enter deep sleep, but I excitedly opened my eyes, gently getting out of bed. I quietly made my way to the storage room and slowly pushed the largest suitcase to the side of the refrigerator and opened it. Slowly pull open the refrigerator door and place the food item by item into the suitcase until everything in the refrigerator is emptied. Again, everything edible in the kitchen and living room was stuffed into the suitcase, packed to the brim. Close it and fasten the box latch. Just as I was about to lift the suitcase lying on the ground and push it towards the door, click, the sound of the door handle of the main room turning came through. Oh no, Li Xiao is awake. I felt a sinking feeling in my heart, dropped my suitcase, and squeezed into the gap between the refrigerator and the wall. At almost the same time, Li Xiao opened the door and walked out, gently turning the handle to close the door. Did he hear my noise and come to check? In the position where he stood, he could reach out and turn on the living room's big light, and he would see the large suitcase lying next to the refrigerator. With half of my body stuck in the gap, my mind went blank with a buzz. Just when I thought fate was going to play tricks on me again, he quietly tiptoed towards the guest room. The light was not turned on, and I did not notice such a large anomaly hidden in the dark. About a minute later, a low voice of Qing Shuang came from the guest room. So bad, Li Zhao's voice. Press down, Shuf, keep it down. We don't want to wake the fat pig. Are you sure she didn't notice? I feel like that fat pig is a bit off today, but I can't quite put my finger on it. That idiot is sleeping soundly with her head covered. She doesn't even know what that pig brain of hers is thinking, always bringing you, my precious, over to keep me company. Let me kiss you quickly, I've missed you so much. While not giving you a kiss, when are you going to confront her? I see that ugly pig face every day and I'm about to throw up, and you still call her your wife in front of me. Get out of bed, baby, don't be angry. I'll buy you that Chanel bag you liked last time as soon as I get the money. Be good, you said it, you can't go back on your word. Ha ha ha. The dog man and woman mocked every word I said, cutting through the surrounding air that was as silent as death, clearly reaching my ears. I am trembling with anger in the dirty crevice, every inch of my skin is burning and smoking with rage. Are you laughing at my pig brain? I returned to the main room, urging Li Xiao to sneak away for an affair and forgetting to put my phone into my bag, directly wearing pajamas, pulling the suitcase, and walking out of this house without looking back. The first thing to do after going out is to lock these two dogs inside the house. The second thing is to blacklist Qing Shuang's WeChat and phone number. I want to see which one of you two will be the first to realize in a few hours that you are the ones with pig brains. Back to the house I rented, locked the two doors securely, looking at the room full of supplies. I finally let out the breath that felt like it was about to explode in my lungs, kicked the suitcase to the side and lay down on the new bed in the master bedroom, stretching out with a big yawn. I no longer have to lie down with that dirty dog of a man. It's so refreshing. What else is there to be angry about? The alarm clock rang at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up refreshed. Leaning against the back of the bed, pulling out the scumbag's phone. In my previous life, I had already cracked his password, and in this life, he doesn't even know that I have discovered his affair, and he doesn't have time to change the password. I restarted the machine and successfully unlocked the screen, with over 100 missed call reminder messages from Qing Shuang lying in the list. I smiled as I walked to the balcony, comfortably lying down on the rocking chair, my eyes peering into the telescope I had set up long ago. In the screen, Li Xiao was as irritable as a lion whose tail had been stepped on, pacing around the room, with his broken belongings scattered all over the floor, creating a mess. Qing Shuang was beside him, talking on the phone while pulling him, as if trying to persuade him earnestly. I turned on the listening device receiver I bought at a black market in the renovation market, and immediately, unbearable vulgarities came through. You damn Shuang, don't let me catch you. Oh my, this series of telegrams is really ear polluting. I'll turn it off first. Li Xiao is really something. The house is in such a mess right now. How are we going to receive the distinguished guests later? I took out my phone and recorded all the conversations and short videos in Li Xiao's WeChat with Qing Shuang that could rival erotic literature, and forwarded them to Qing Shuang's current boyfriend, Su Chao. Qing Shuang, this person, has disappointed me in other matters, but her choice in men has never let me down. To put it nicely, it's called being love-struck. To put it harshly, it's just cheap. Even the men in the garbage heap are about to be picked clean by her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have hooked up with Li Xiao despite the stench. When I used to treat her as my close friend, I really hated her for not being better. I don't know how many times I scolded her, but no matter how much I scold, every time she is tormented by various scumbags to the point of physical and mental exhaustion, I am the one who rushes to the front to stand up for her, even getting myself into a lot of trouble, losing several jobs, and moving several times. Fortunately, she didn't listen to me and found a new lowlife, Su Chao. Su Chao really called back quickly. I sorted out my emotions and answered, Super brother, boo-hoo. I want to apologize to you. No wonder you used to hit her. She really, boo-hoo-hoo. I don't know what to do now, Super brother. Please come and uphold justice. Su Chao was yelling at me on the phone so loudly that my eardrums were about to burst. What dog dares to put a green hat on me? Just watch me not take care of them. Send me your address right now. Keep an eye on them. Don't let them run away. I'm coming over now. After hanging up the phone, I immediately sent Su Chao the detailed address and door number, and also told him where I had hidden the door key. The neighborhood he lives in is just a 10-minute drive away, so I won't have to wait too long. Ha! I rubbed my hands together in anticipation, took the opportunity to get up and open the suitcase I had brought back from the scumbag's house, and put the food I had gathered into the fridge and cabinets. After sorting, I looked at the time and it was just a few minutes to 10 o'clock. Oh dear, the show is about to start soon. I excitedly rushed to the balcony, opened the receiver, adjusted the angle of the telescope, and looked across. Li Xiao is already tired of making a fuss and is now sitting on the living room sofa with a dark expression. Qing Shuang beside him gently patted his back. Honey, don't be angry, the locksmith is on his way, and as soon as the door is open, I'll go with you to the service center to get a new SIM card, and then we'll buy a new phone. I'll buy it for you. Please don't be angry. Honey, Tisk, I really don't understand. What kind of serious problem does she have in her head? Why is she so infatuated with a scammer? Li Xiao irritably raised his elbow to push Qing Shuang away, but she shyly leaned against him again. Just then, the door was kicked open with a bang, and the locksmith, Su Chao, rushed into the room with a fierce look. Before that pair of dog men and women could react, they grabbed Li Xiao by the neck like picking up a chick and lifted him off the sofa, violently throwing him to the ground. That spot was just filled with shattered pieces of broken cups, and Li Xiao was curled up on top of them, his face full of pain. Before he could moan a couple of times, Su Chao sat on Li Xiao like a mountain and began to pound his fists down on the scumbag's head. Whoever dares to touch my woman, you must be tired of living. Sharp shards of broken porcelain pierced my back, and my face was hit by a fist as big as a clay pot. Hiss. Just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. I feel pain for Li Xiao. Beside her, Qing Shuang was probably also in pain, feeling heartache, and began to reach out to pull Su Chao. It's fine if you don't pull, but once you do, Su Chao remembers that there's a cheap woman he hasn't dealt with yet. He gets off Li Xiao, whose face is swollen like a pig's head, and slaps Qing Shuang across the face. I see you've had enough of life too. Haven't you been fighting less lately? Are you getting a little too confident? After speaking, he slapped down 2 loud slaps. Qing Shuang was beaten until her nose bled. She couldn't stand and fell to the ground, crying with her face covered in red snot. Just as I was adjusting the telescope left and right, tracking every exciting scene and expression, busy to the point of flying, my phone rang. I reluctantly picked it up. Hello, is this Miss Xu? This is Xiao Yang. I'm almost at the bottom of your community building. You can sign the contract normally today. Right? Oh, I was so happy that I forgot about this little supporting character who came to deliver a head. I stood up and looked downstairs, where young Jia was about to step into the main entrance of Building C where Li Xiao lived. Hurry and call to stop. Xiao Yang, I'm not at home. I went to the bank early this morning. Young Jia stopped, but on the way back, it will take about 10 minutes to reach the community. So just sit on the chair directly opposite the main entrance of Building C and wait for me, okay? Don't move, or I won't be able to find you later. Young Jia readily agreed on the phone and turned to sit down in that chair. After a while, an old man carrying a violin case walked towards that chair and started discussing something with young Jia. I know that old man. He used to walk and buy groceries with his partner every day. After they returned to the community, they would habitually sit down and rest on that chair. A few months ago, the old lady suddenly passed away from a heart attack, leaving the old man all alone. Every day, he returns to that chair at about the same time and plays a piece of Butterfly Lovers on the violin to commemorate his partner. The people in the community usually have an unspoken agreement to leave that chair empty for him. At this moment, young Jia was completely adopting a rogue posture of, I have the right to take what is mine, with his arms crossed, shaking his foot, and turning his head to look elsewhere. The old man, feeling dejected after the negotiations yielded no results, walked back with his head down. hunching his back as he entered the large door next to him. About 5 minutes later, a few crazed zombies suddenly rushed out behind Yang Jia, biting at his neck artery, and blood sprayed all over the ground. At the same time, chilling screams echoed from every corner of the community garden. The entire garden began to stir, with the living fleeing everywhere from the zombies, and those who were bitten quickly transformed into new zombies to bite others. In just a short 10 minutes, the area below is already filled with mutated zombies, with no sign of people left. The timing of the zombie outbreak is exactly the same as in the previous life. The only difference is that I made up for the regrets of my previous life and saved the lovesick old man, also delivered a lunchbox to the scammer. It's just this feel that's super refreshing. I happily hummed a song and aimed the telescope at the opposite side again. The three of them are standing on the balcony at this moment, looking down with faces full of terror, having likely witnessed the horrifying scene of zombies mutating and biting people below. Li Zhao's eyes, swollen like purple buns, revealed a deep anger as he stared intently at a certain spot downstairs. I looked in the direction he was staring with the binoculars. Oh, so it's the freshly baked zombie, one-armed little Yang. Are you still in the mood to miss your brother, Li Zhao? I advise you to worry more about yourself. Staying at home means living with Su Chao, and there is not a bit of food. As soon as I go out, I will end up like I did in my last life, being bitten to death by zombies in the hallway. I see that your current situation is even worse than your brother's. Li Xiaoning can be a pig-killing plate scammer. His reaction ability is still a bit stronger than the other two idiots, just like now. After the three people returned to the room in a daze, he was the first to realize his situation. Su Chao knelt down with a bang, began to cry bitterly, trying to shift the internal conflict onto me. Super brother, let me explain. All of this is that bitch Xu Ying's doing. I don't know what she told you, but she took my phone away, and now there's no evidence. It's all based on her words. You mustn't be deceived by this bitch. After speaking, he rushed to the refrigerator and pulled the door open. Look. She has taken all the food from the house. Isn't it obvious? This is clearly a trap set in advance, and you were also schemed against. Super brother, you must not let her off. Su Chao is muscular and simple-minded, easily provoked by Li Zhao's few words, and immediately takes out his phone to make a call. The phone ringtone rang. I quickly jumped 20 high knees in place, cleared my throat, and continued in a breathless crying tone. How scary, zombies. I almost got bitten to death by a zombie. Boo-hoo, super brother, are you okay at home? Su Chao was momentarily taken aback by my sudden concern, but quickly regained his questioning tone. Xu Ying, are you setting a trap to trick me? I also confidently questioned him back. What am I playing with you? Does Li Xiao not admit to putting a green hat on you? You saw those little videos too. How could it be fake? Should I hide it from you and let that bitch Qing Shuang continue to deceive you? And now there are zombies everywhere on the streets. I almost couldn't escape being bitten to death, and you are safe and sound in my house. Yet you say I set a trap for you. Su Chao sounded a bit lacking in confidence on the phone. Then, why is there not a single thing to eat at your home? I acted more outrageous. I usually don't cook at home. Whenever Qing Shuang comes over for a meal, don't I take her out to eat? The food at home has all expired and been thrown away. Is this little matter worth you questioning me? I was originally worried that you wouldn't have anything to eat at my house and planned to ask a friend to find a way to send something over. Now it seems that you are in cahoots with Li Xiao, even helping him to annoy me, so you three are all close and loving, while I'm the only one being played. As soon as Su Chao heard that I was going to bring him food, he quickly smiled apologetically. Wait, Xu Ying, look at you. What's the rush? I was just asking casually. I didn't hear what you said afterwards and hung up, and I also set my phone to do not disturb. Su Chao in the telescope image was extremely anxious, redialing his phone several times, and finding that my call still couldn't get through, he kicked Li Xiao, who was kneeling beside him, down in frustration. You're the one causing trouble here, making me starve. I won't let you off easily, you troublemaker. Kicked the stomach several times in frustration, to the point where Li Xiao wanted to shout in pain but couldn't. Li Xiao, whoever has the supplies is the boss now. the dirty water you splash on me poses no threat at all, but being stepped on by me is not something that can be explained away with just a few words. Argue laughing at my pig brain. If I can't even outsmart a pig brain, that's pretty trashy. For the next 3 days, the communication signal didn't break. And Su Chao kept trying to contact me. Every time he couldn't get through on the phone, he would take it out on Li Xiao and Qing Shuangshuang. But by the 4th day, the internet was down, the phone couldn't get through, and in a state of extreme hunger, Su Chao also lost the strength to hit someone, and the 3 of them collapsed on the living room floor. Compared to their hellish life, my living on the opposite side is simply like heaven. Not only are there meat and vegetables in the 3 meals a day, but my landlord's sister Yao also often uses her son's drone to deliver the dumplings, jiaozi, pancakes, and guobao roe that she makes to feed me. She said that if it weren't for me, her whole family would never be so neat and tidy. It's strange how the connections between people work. She has only seen me once, yet she can believe in me so completely. The day she signed the rental contract, she received my reminder and immediately started hoarding supplies, filling the house to the brim, leaving barely any space to walk. On the morning of the zombie outbreak, she cried and blocked the door, not allowing her husband to go to work or her son to go to school. The family all thought she had gone crazy from some kind of shock, but they couldn't be stubborn about it and could only go along with her. But before long, screams began to come from the bottom of the garden. And the family on the balcony watched in terror, with the grandmother fainting from fright and only waking up after taking a quick-acting heart-saving pill. Now her family and my family can be said to live without any pressure in the apocalypse thanks to their resources. Although I am living much better than in my previous life, it doesn't mean that the revenge ends here. On the contrary, if the ending for the scumbag and the mistress is just starving to death, I don't think it is satisfying at all. I want them to taste the pain I once experienced. At 4 a.m., the alarm clock that was set in advance went off. While the 3 people across from me were still sleeping, I quietly put a little bit of food in a plastic bag and hung it on the drone's mechanical arm. The balcony of Li Xiao's house just happened to not have a security net installed, so I maneuvered the drone over, placed the supplies on the ground, and then retracted the drone. A screenshot of a message was sent to Su Chao's phone via airdrop again. Take good care of them, and I will bring food over later. After doing all this, I will go back to catch up on my sleep. When I woke up again, it was already past 9 o'clock. I hurried to the balcony to continue watching the progress. Su Chao sat on the sofa, shaking his legs while eating instant noodles, while Li Xiao and Qing Shuangshuang knelt in front of him. Qing Shuangshuang stared at the bucket of noodles, pleading eagerly, "Honey, I'm so hungry too. Can you save me some soup after you finish the noodles?" Su Chao coldly snorted, finished the last bite of noodles, and put the noodle bucket on the ground. "You can drink, but you only deserve to drink on the ground." Qing Shuangshuang was hungry for a whole day and night, and she didn't care about her image anymore, so she lay on the ground and devoured her food. Before I had a few bites, I was pushed aside by Li Xiao, who snatched it away. Qing Shuangshuang probably didn't expect that Li Xiao, who had been calling her baby, would get into a fight with her over a few bites of instant noodle soup, and she started crying loudly, pulling at Li Xiao's clothes and fighting with him. The 2 of them were facing sideways towards me, and I couldn't see the fighting situation clearly through the telescope, but soon I received a clear frontal video sent by Su Chao from a distance, in which 2 people looked as disheveled as beggars, lying on the ground, desperately trying to reach for a bucket of instant noodles, with soup smeared all over their faces, looking as messy as can be. It seems that after a few days of hunger, Su Chao has already realized whose words to listen to and who to stand with on the same front. Every mealtime, I can always receive the video of the loving couple sent over by him on time. I have to say, watching it makes me hungrier than eating broadcasts. On the 64th day after the outbreak of the zombie virus, just when life was comfortable for a short while, a twist suddenly came. Around 9 o'clock in the morning, several drones flew into the community, and the speakers on them were automatically looping a broadcast. The zombie virus antibody vaccine has been successfully developed. The government will soon carry out zombie cleanup work. Please continue to stay at home and take precautions. The dawn of victory is just around the corner. The survivors in the community began to cheer when they heard the broadcast, but I couldn't feel happy at all. In my previous life, I died on the third day of the virus outbreak, so I don't know what happened afterwards or how long it lasted. In this life, I lived well for more than 2 months. Aside from the communication network being down, water and electricity were supplied normally. I have a vague premonition that this virus has not completely escaped the control of the government and that it may not last too long, but it was indeed unexpected that the vaccine was developed by the country in such a short time. With the vaccine, humans will not get sick even if bitten by zombies. As long as survivors are vaccinated after clearing each area, the number of people clearing zombies will increase, and the progress will become faster. In other words, at the latest, it will take half a month to almost completely clear the zombies nationwide. This situation is very unfavorable for me now. If those 3 people on the other side endure until the end of the world and regain their freedom, the first thing they will definitely do is team up to deal with me. No way. Starting today, I will intensify monitoring their every move, and I need to find a way to incite infighting among them. I didn't expect that after hearing this news. Li Xiao didn't wait for me to take action and was ready to strike first. While Su Chao was asleep at night, I secretly approached Qing Shuangshuang. Our hard days are about to come to an end, but Shu Ying and Su Chao, these 2 bitches, must be dealt with now. Qing Shuangshuang had already fallen out with Li Xiao, but upon hearing that we needed to deal with Su Chao and me, she gritted her teeth and nodded vigorously, agreeing with his statement. Then Li Xiao began to whisper in Qing Shuangshuang's ear, but the voice was too soft for me to hear clearly. But the next day, they did not take any action. By the 4th day, the food supply had been completely consumed, and when Su Chao couldn't get a response from me no matter how he tried to contact me, Li Xiao finally spoke slowly. Super brother, I think you should stop waiting. That bitch Shu Ying knows that the zombies will be cleared out soon, and everyone will regain their freedom. To prevent us from taking revenge on her, she definitely won't send food over again, trying to starve us all. Su Chao was in a state of hunger and anger, and was provoked by Li Xiao's words to explode with rage. This bitch dares to play me like this. If I go out, the first thing I'll do is kill her. Li Xiaoshan immediately responded, Super brother, I think if we are going to take action, we should do it now. Think about it. Once order is restored, what do you want to do? That would be illegal. Only in times like this, whether there is one more or one less, no one will care. Moreover, she dared to bring food before, which means she must have stockpiled a huge amount of supplies. If we take her out, all those things will belong to us, and even if we eat to our heart's content every day, we might not finish them all by the time we clear out the zombies. Anyway, staying at home will just starve me to death. So I might as well give it my all, don't you think so, Brother Chao? I secretly laughed in my heart. Where do I plan to fight with all my might? Even if you know I'm nearby, the whole neighborhood is so big, do you expect me to search room by room? But what I didn't expect was that Li Xiao actually held back a move. After Su Chao agreed to kill me together with him, they immediately pulled the curtains in the living room, blocking my line of sight. Only the eavesdropper picked up Li Xiao's lowered voice. Once I woke up in the middle of the night and happened to see supplies being delivered from the opposite window by a drone. Then yesterday, I secretly checked my phone's location on the computer and found it was also in the opposite building. Just based on these 2 points, I can basically confirm that that bitch Shu Ying is hiding in the room directly across. We'll take all the weapons we can use for protection, break through a bloody path, and force her family to open the door. If they don't let us in, we'll smash the door down and make sure she can't survive either. After listening to their plan, I took a look downstairs. There are indeed not many zombies wandering in the community garden now, and they are also in a state of hunger, moving slowly, but just relying on this. Do you think you can smoothly kill your way to my doorstep? You underestimate me, Shu Ying, too much. I immediately cut my hand with a knife, wiped all the blood onto a piece of clothing, and then tied the clothing to the drone. Hearing that the 3 people had left through the listening device, they quickly released the drone. The drone began to fly around the entire community garden, the strong smell of blood on the clothes igniting the bloodlust of the zombies below. their state becoming increasingly frenzied as they chased after the drone one after another. I maneuvered the drone to Building C, and the 3 layers of corpses inside and outside immediately surrounded the main entrance of Building C. Just as I was about to be happy for the smooth progress of the plan, I suddenly thought, no, coming from Building C, they can also walk through the underground parking lot, and they are more likely to choose the route that offers better defense. I quickly flew the drone into the underground parking entrance, and after flying for a while, I saw in the corner of the screen that the 3 people had just killed a zombie and were getting up to run towards the entrance of my building on the basement level. The drone was pulled up by me and stopped on a nearby beam, and the corpses that followed the drone were attracted by the movements of those 3 people, starting to surge towards them. I clearly saw on the screen that Li Xiao, who was running behind, was the first to turn around and notice that a horde of corpses was chasing them. And he hurriedly tapped Qing Shuangshuang's shoulder in front. Qing Shuangshuang turned back to him, and after they understood each other, they each took a fire axe and a kitchen knife, and together they chopped at Su Chao's legs, who was running ahead completely unaware. Su Chao cried out in pain and fell to the ground, the wounds on his legs leaving 2 deep streaks of blood on the ground. The bloodthirsty zombie horde behind him surged forward, surrounding and engulfing him. And the parking lot echoed with Su Chao's desperate shouts mixed with curses, and after the 2 treacherous lovers sacrificed the bait, they smoothly ran into the main entrance of the basement floor, heavily closed the door, and turned to disappear into the hallway. I really didn't expect that. 2 months later, this pair of dog men and women reappeared before me, expressing their heavy love for me. Li Xiao was tapping on the glass of the corridor door, tears of missing welling up in his eyes. Wife, I finally found you. It's so good to see you alive. I really miss you so much. I will compensate you 1,000 times for the mistakes I made before. Please give me a chance to make it up to you. Open the door, my wife, let me in to hug you. Qing Shuangshuang was also crying and weeping on the glass. Ying, you are the best sister I have in this lifetime. If it weren't for wanting to see you one more time, I definitely wouldn't be able to hold on. I was just momentarily confused. Can you forgive me? Right, you said that there is no man in the world who can compare to the deep bond between us sisters. Oh, I'm so moved. I leaned against the door frame, watching them sincerely admit their mistakes, wiping the tears from the corners of my eyes, and slowly began to speak. Since you all recognize that you were wrong, I won't pursue it any further. Li Xiao and Qing Shuangshuang showed their joy upon hearing the first sentence, but to avoid the same betrayal from happening again, I will not accept the 3 of us living together from now on. Li Xiao frowned. What does it mean? I sighed. It means that I can only let one of you come in to continue living with me, but you are all the most important people in my life, and I can't choose. Li Xiao immediately understood, his eyes sincerely expressing loyalty. Then just let me go in alone, my wife. In the future, I will marry you and spend my whole life compensating you. The mistakes I made before were all because that bitch Qing Shuangshuang seduced me. Otherwise, I never even thought about doing anything to hurt you. Qing Shuangshuang stared at Li Xiao in shock and hurriedly clarified. Ying, you mustn't believe him. He was the one who got me drunk and seduced me when I was out of it. You can't trust what a scumbag says. You have to believe your good sister. And he just got caught by a zombie. He'll change soon. Before Qing Shuangshuang could finish speaking, Li Xiao fiercely grabbed her by the neck. You cheap person, what are you talking about? Where was I caught? I just have a scratch. I followed Qing Shuangshuang's words and looked over. There were indeed 3 obvious scratch marks on Li Xiao's arm, and they were bleeding. He probably felt guilty and decided to make a big move, grabbing Qing Shuangshuang by the neck and pushing her all the way to the stairway. It's you who wronged my wife. I want to punish you, you scoundrel, go die. Then he threw her deep into the stairs, slammed the door at the entrance with a bang, and remained indifferent to Qing Shuangshuang crying and shouting outside, banging and kicking the door, even attracting nearby zombies who screamed in pain from being bitten. This intensity is exactly the same as when I was thrown out in my previous life. After doing all this, Li Xiao turned around and gently said to me outside the hallway door, Dear, I have already avenged you. Please open the door for me. I walked over with a smile, holding the key, and unlocked the door, and he, seeing this, happily tried to slip in through the crack of the door. At that moment when he was completely unprepared, I suddenly grabbed the high-voltage stun baton that I had been hiding behind my back and jabbed it into his stomach. The high-voltage current instantly caused him to lose most of his consciousness, convulsing as he fell to the ground. I squatted down to continue giving him electroshock therapy, and smiled as I explained to him, "Hubby, thank you for avenging me, but your current situation is very dangerous, so you can only be treated specially. I believe that the government will definitely find a way to save you." 10 days later, the doorbell of my house rang. "Hello, ma'am. We are from ZF here to vaccinate the survivors against the zombie virus. May I ask how many survivors you have at home?" I happily opened the door and reported truthfully to the staff. "There are 2 people in my family, me and my fiancé." "Then please have your fiancé come out, and we will register the information, and then we can give you the vaccine." I showed a difficult expression. "He probably can't come out. His situation is a bit special." The staff member turned around and nodded behind him. Then 2 other strong staff members came forward, one on the left and one on the right, trapping me in between. "Ma'am, please take us to see the situation of your fiancé." "I don't understand. What is this for?" The staff did not respond directly to me. "You just need to cooperate with our work, and we will definitely provide you with help." I had no choice but to take the key, bring them to the door of the small room, remind them to be careful, and then open the door. Li Xiao, who has turned into a zombie, is wandering in the room. Seeing the door open and a whole room full of feast outside, he instantly goes mad and pounces, but before he could get close, 2 JC in bomb disposal suits rushed out from behind me, one skillfully using a net to ensnare his head, while the other chopped off his head with a machete. The smoothness of the action, not even much blood was splattered. 2 staff members beside me pulled me away from the scene, leaving their colleague to start the disinfection and cleanup. The staff member holding the registration form comforted me by saying, "Your fiancé has already turned into a corpse. The vaccine is of no use to him anymore. We have dealt with this situation many times, and you are not an exception. So slowly accept this fact. Everyone has a hard time, and I hope you can handle such situations rationally in the future. Thank you for your cooperation with our work." I nodded with tears in my eyes. "Thank you to the staff for guiding me. I will definitely correct my mistakes and approach things rationally in the future." After the room was disinfected and cleaned, they checked the remaining 2 rooms to confirm that I had no other family members hidden away, and after sending female staff to check that I had no wounds from being caught by zombies, they finally vaccinated me. 10 days later, the communication network began to recover. The news that the domestic zombies have been cleared, and all survivors have been vaccinated, has taken over the headlines of major social media. Sister Yao called me immediately after seeing it. "Little sister, did you see the news?" "Emma, it's great. We are finally free. Come over to my house for dinner to celebrate. Our whole family is waiting to meet you." Although I lost my fiancé, I gained a sister who thinks of me every day and a whole family of real relatives. It seems that I am not at a loss either, right?